all over the country, sharing her story today, humor, happiness, and hope. Ladies and gentlemen, Becky Olson.
Hello, hello. Thank you. Thank you. When I went through the hair loss the first time, I was scared to death because I remember, here I am, I'm under height, and ladies, we are not overweight, we are under height. Okay? So here I am under height. I was 43 years old and approaching middle-aged. Now I'm 54 and I'm still approaching middle-aged. It keeps moving. I don't know about that. But so here I was, and now I'm going to be bald. And I thought, oh man, this is not going to be a pretty picture. And one night I was sitting on my couch. My daughter, who was 14 at the time, came over. She sat down on the couch next to me, and she says, "Mom, what's the matter?" And you know how we try to protect our children. I said, "Oh, honey, nothing. I'm fine." And she says, "No, Mom, you're not." And I said, "Well, I guess truth be known, I'm a little bit scared about this hair loss thing. I don't know what I'm going to look like." I'm still sitting in the same spot where she left me, and she comes around the corner, leaps onto my lap. Thank goodness she was skinny. And she says, "Mom, we know you've always wanted to be a blonde. And we're going to turn you into one." And she pulls out a box of platinum blonde hair dye. So a little while later, after they blew it all dry, got it all into place, they marched me into the bathroom, eyes covered, and then I had the deer in the headlights look. And she says, "Mom, you're only going to have it for a week, right?" So, okay, we're okay with that. But it was a very lighthearted moment, and it's something that I think as breast cancer survivors, it is hard. There's nothing funny about breast cancer. But those moments, here it is all these years later, and I remember that moment. I remember that moment more than I remember the bad moments. And those are the things that help us get through. It's our friends, our families, our sisters who help us get through this by sharing those light moments with us. And I opened the sack, and I saw something inside here that just kind of made a little lump form in the back of my throat. And it was just this really cool but very stupid baseball hat. Now, I know some of you saw this when I talked last time because I carry this with me everywhere. And it's got little stick figures of bald-headed people, and it says "No Hair Day" on the front. And I had vowed after my hair fell out that I was not going to go out in public again until I got hair. And I had 9 months of chemo to face. So, it was going to be a long time all alone. So when she gave me this hat, it really changed everything about, the way I felt about things. I ran in the bathroom, pulled the scarf off, put this hat on, and for the very first time, I was able to smile back at the reflection in my mirror. And it changed everything. This is one of those moments that we live for when we have breast cancer. So this changed everything. I actually went to the grocery store the next day, put some makeup on, and got all dolled up, I forget staying home. I got this hat now, And I ended up going to the grocery store, and there was this gentleman in the line in front of me at the store. And he was naked from the waist up. Guys in the summer, they got their shorts on and no shirt. Ladies, would you wear your pant size on your butt? I know I wouldn't, unless if I took that first number off, I might, but not with both of them on there. Anyway, he was standing there, and he must have sensed me staring at him because he suddenly turned around and looked at me, and he goes, "Cool hat, but why'd you shave your head?" And I looked at him, and I said, "Well, it's not me. Captain Chemo shaved my head." And he got that. And I must have really embarrassed him because just as slowly as he turned around to look at me, he slowly turned back and said, "Oh." And now I'm behind him. And he just sat there, and it was painfully silent. And there were people behind me and people in front of me, and nobody was talking. And all of a sudden, he turned back slowly again and said, "Is it working?" And I said, "So far, so good." But there's a lot of lighthearted moments in the cancer treatment. And when I did it the first time, I had a lumpectomy with radiation and chemo. And I was one of these women. I was kind of, like the big floppy side and the little perky side. And then, of course, the radiation makes it perkier, right? And I was thinking, I should really get this fixed because it looks kind of bad. I didn't like the way it looked. So I told my husband one day, I said, honey, I'm thinking about getting reconstruction because I just feel kind of, uneven. And he says, well, why would you do that? And I said, because it doesn't look good. They're so different. And he goes, well, he says, sorry, honey. He hates it when I tell this story. But he says, well, I kind of like it. It's kind of like being with two women. I love him. When I came here to see you guys last time, I talked to you about, those things we all want to do in our lives someday. And, someday doesn't happen. There's no day called someday, right? Nothing happens someday. It happens tomorrow. It happens Saturday. But it doesn't happen someday. And I talked to you guys about not waiting for someday to start doing something that you love, whatever it is. And I'd always wanted to be a professional speaker. But I found out you needed a subject. Had no idea this would be it. But you have to have a subject. So anyway, this became something that I really wanted to do, and this became my passion. But the one thing that was holding me back from really fulfilling this full-time was that I had this crazy full-time job doing something that I had learned to hate. I'd been there for 15 years, and when I saw you guys last time, I was still there. Now, I had breast cancer the first time, and that's when I kind of started thinking about leaving. But I'm a slow learner. I had to get it again, and figure this out finally. Well, as I talked to you guys about not waiting, I remember at the end I just kind of said, here's my curveball, and I pulled my wig off. That was that moment. And, a year later, after that speech, I was still at this job. And I bought a book that was called, If You Want to Walk on Water, You Got to Get Out of the Boat. And I was working my way out of that boat. I kept putting one leg over, and I pulled one leg back in again because I was scared. I was scared to leave. It was a good source of income, had supported our family for years. We had great health insurance. And leaving that security was really hard and very scary for me to do. And then one day, I kind of had enough, and I went into my boss's office, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm out of here. And I left that day. And I called my husband, and I said, honey, guess what I just did? And he says, what? I said, I quit my job. He said, it's about time. There was a song by Tim McGraw, came out earlier this year. Do you remember it? It's called Live Like You Were Dying. Remember that song? Something about Rocky Mountain climbing and skydiving and something about a bull. So anyway, I had never listened to the lyrics to that song until one day I was in a store, a Christian bookstore, and I saw a book by the same title. And there was a foreword by Tim McGraw and his CD in the back. But inside the book, there was a phrase that I read that took my breath away. And that phrase was, we are all terminal. Some of us are just lucky enough to know it. And if you're one of the ones lucky enough to know it, then don't let it end here. Do something that you love. Find a way to incorporate some joy into your life every day. And for all of you survivors in this room, welcome to the sisterhood. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Becky, for that inspiring talk. I think she should go on Jay Leno, don't you guys? Last comic standing.